Hi, I'm Eric Rhodes of Plein Air and Fine Art Connoisseur magazine. We've been digging through the vaults to find you things to keep you occupied and growing as an artist. Johanne Mangi is one of the best portrait painters of dogs. She does incredible dog portraits, and we all have pets or we have friends with pets and they want us to do portraits because they know we're painters. You're going to enjoy this one.
Dogs have a little bone right here, the occipital bone, and some are more pronounced than other dogs. And so it's really important to know that that's there. And then, you know, we go into the ear, which starts way up here and comes out and around. So these are all kind of important things. And then, you know, they have the cheek comes out and around. So it's like on a human. They, you know, the form is, you know, it's not slash slash, there's a dark area, and then there's the snout. The form of the dog is going around. So there's, you know, we have the eyeball socket, and there's a little bone here where it protrudes. And you'll see it on the photo because it'll catch light. Just like on a person, you'll get light here, kind of comes through the eyebrow on a person. And then, so we have, you know, we have the, he's so good, you are so good, you need to have a treat. How perfect are you? Okay. So we have the eyeball socket. So what happens is that if it catches a little light, it's okay, baby. Oh no, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have given it to him. So he catches a little light under here because that's kind of a upper plane, and then it drops a little, and then it comes out again. So there's a cheek here, and then there's the top of the nose. This is like the forehead on a person where, you know, you'll have like a little cool color here because it's coming down. Same thing on a dog. And then we have, you know, the nose. I know, oh my goodness, you're so perfect. So, you know, you're making the nose, but it's a soft edge because it's actually coming into, you know, there's a little hard edge here where the nostril goes around, but are you nervous or relaxed? So then it softens here, and then you have to I know. And then I know. And then you have to remember that they have a jaw. So when you're going to look at this painting, actually the photo that we're using, we're going to have an opportunity to paint his tongue because I wanted to show that, how simply you can do that. But you have to remember that, you know, here's his little mouth, but the jaw opens from way back here. So the joint's way back here. And you have to just be aware of that, even if you're covering it with fur. So when I say get a dog, go look at somebody's dog. And you'll understand, all of a sudden, the photos you're looking at are going to mean something to you. And you're going to say, oh yeah, I get it. There's like a little slit for the mouth, but it doesn't stop there. That's going to go around here. And sometimes you can actually draw it and then cover it. So, and then you'll get the sense that there's more dog there. So then the other part that I want to show you, he's not going to be sitting up for his portrait, but I know, I just want to show him this. He has a pronounced breastbone, and then it comes underneath. And then he's got these cute little legs. But what you have to realize is that, you know, some have a more pronounced chest than others, and then there's always the shoulder, the point of the shoulder. So now we have top plane, side plane, you know, bottom, underplane, kind of a little underplane. And then over here's his wither. So, you know, it's connected, the shoulder's connected, the thigh bone's connected to the hip bone. Okay, so, you know, he has withers, and it just comes around, and then there's the shoulder, and then that's connected. He's got the rib cage and the breastbone. So all of this is going to play in. And then I want to know where the leg comes into the chest, because when you look at this photo, it's going to be hard to figure that out. And so I need to know where it is ahead of time, so that I can make it look like it reads like that. So I would normally, can I turn, would you be okay if I turn you just a teeny bit? So sometimes you get a photo and, they have the tail in there. And so there's the tail set that's way up. It comes way up. It's not down here. And then, of course, the hip, the haunches, depending on what photo that you're using, this is what you have to look at in a dog. And yeah, there's some dogs, they're different. They don't have this perfect snout like he has. They might have a short snout, but a lot of it basically is the same. So that's a quick lesson in dog anatomy. Your best bet is, you could look at dog anatomy online. It's just not going to mean the same thing unless you look at a real dog, and that's my recommendation. What I have here is a gridded photo. How I have this gridded up, I actually have a center line for the length and a center line for the width. So I can kind of see how I want this placed. I think this is how this is going to be placed. Looks okay to me, but I'm not going to really know till I actually put it on the canvas. I might shift it a little bit. The reason I chose this photo, and let me tell you, you've already seen Sam. He's amazing. He's very photogenic, and there's probably not a bad picture of this dog. But for our purposes here in the studio, I wanted to show a painting that had strong light, had an expressive eye that I could see, also maybe had an eye that you couldn't see, a large presence with the nose, and I also wanted something with the tongue, because I had other photos that were just, I absolutely loved. And I thought about combining two photos, which I do a lot. I've actually have combined more than two photos, which I do not recommend. It's like you want to tear your hair out, because it's difficult. But this one, it just has he has a great expression, and there's just some good shadow. What's difficult about this particular painting is the way his leg goes up here, and it's not really clear where his body and his leg, where the leg starts and pushes back, and where there's actually the shoulder is back in here, and there's the breastbone. So this is what I was talking about earlier, when you want to look at a dog, because I'm not going to forget what I need to see. And listen, I have 6 dogs. You'd think I would have a dog memorized by now. I still look at the dog. I still might take my dog, if I'm working on a painting, I still might take one of my dogs and place him in a similar position so that I can see what the leg is doing, or what the elbow's doing, with the back, the body, whatever. So this is, and then sometimes what I do is I just really lighten the photo, and we probably might manipulate so that you can see, because I need to know exactly where this eye is, even though you're not really going to see it in the painting. But I can't ignore that. I need to know where that is exactly, because that affects, I'm thinking about the side of the face, where the ear, where it goes into the ear. And you could look at this and you could say, I don't need that. I can just figure this out. Well, yeah, okay, go ahead and do it. But if you want the dog to look believable, you want it to look alive, you got to think about these. You at least have to be thinking about it. and then you'll be able to translate it with your brush. So now I think we're ready to actually put paint on the canvas. So I mentioned before about my medium. I think it's the right mix because I make it up. It's not always exact. So it feels like it's okay, but I'm not going to know till I start putting paint on. I'm going to start with the transparent oxide yellow. And the reason I use the transparent oxide yellow, I don't know, I used to do it differently. I used to make a kind of a combination gray to get it in, but I did this on a lark. And I found that when I used the transparent oxide yellow, I didn't always cover everything with paint. So do I always do that? Nah, I don't always do it. But because, you know, some days you're just feeling differently. So, I mean, like, you know, some days I'm like, oh, let's paint a dog. You know, you got to get in the mood. And other days I'm putting some lines on here. And other days I'm going to do what I'm doing here. I'm just going to kind of take my brush and feel my way into this composition. So I'll be getting rid of the grid lines, but they're there for now because now I don't have to think as much. I can paint and I can talk because the grids are going to save me a little bit of an effort. So I think this mix is okay. And so I'm looking at this and, you know, that's going to be his ear and his head, and he's tipped, you know, so. And I don't want you to get alarmed as I'm painting and you're like, it'll start kind of looking a little funny. Don't be alarmed because it's going to be beautiful. And I truly believe that. So just sometimes getting there is not, can be a little scary. But I have my no fear painting button, and that's what it's going to keep me going. It's just paint. I can just change things, and I might not like something that I'm doing. Okay, so I think that's kind of how I'm going to have him placed on this thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place that eye. I might have a little too much juice on here, but I'm going to put that eye is going to be right about there. And then his nose is going to be here. I think that other eye is probably about here. And you know what? I'm not worried about things being exact, things being too big, because I'm going to paint back into those things. So, and then his nose actually comes down here. And then here's his tongue. I think I want to pull this down a little. This is down here. So now I'm going to, I'm going to go to a synthetic brush. This is what you call, this is an eclipse. I like the eclipse, I like the evergreens. Sometimes I find the evergreens too thick. And this has a nice, there aren't too many hairs on this. I mean, it's thick, but it's not, I find sometimes the evergreens are too much so. So I'm looking at this painting and I want to start maybe putting some of the darker stuff in. So let's do that. So a little medium. And we might have to adjust what we're doing, but that's not a big deal because it's just paint. So here's my center line, and so it's possible that it's gonna look a little messy, but I'm not really concerned about that in the least. I'll be making adjustments as I go along. Just right now, I just want to get paint on here, is what I want to do. And pretty quick, I'll be doing something with, I like red under here because, you know, there's a lot of blood flow here. If you've ever had a dog, around the mouth or their nose gets cut, there's a lot of it bleeds quite a bit. So there's a lot going on. So I probably didn't mention, really, when I talked about the 3-color palette, why bother using a 3-color palette? It's more fun to use colors, and I love color. I absolutely love color. But I'm going to tell you something. What happens is you get caught up in the color instead of the value. And see what's going to happen, you'll see, is I can make a very colorful portrait, but I'm using a limited amount of colors, so to speak, and it forces me to think more about value on this painting. And that is really that's the lesson to be learned. And it's actually a lot of fun. And you don't have to necessarily use these colors that I'm using, but it's simple. It's simple, they're not expensive. So, one of the things that people have a problem with is putting enough paint on their palette. Because, I don't know how long I'm gonna paint, I don't wanna waste the paint. And there's ways around that with products that are out that help you preserve your paint. You can put them in the freezer or something like that. But it's all about having plenty of paint available to you, so you can do what needs to be done. And again, this painting's going to come together because of the values. And hey, I'm just as much a color person as the next person, but once you have to understand value first, you can't get around that. And we all know that. I mean, we hear it, we're bombarded with it, but how do you do that? Because I found I was always confused about the light. You know, where's the light, and is this half tone in the light or in the dark? It's a lot to think about, and I'm kind of taking that away from you. So let's see. See how I'm kind of moving around here, and I'm still kind of feeling my way of where I want things to appear. And I'm more concerned about just getting some paint on here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm going to create some value, more value. I'll do whatever I need to do to make this work. But see, I can just move this paint all around. It's like, it's not, you know, it's just not getting stuck on the support, and that's what I like. And I might use a little line, and it might stay, but I'm not getting stuck. I'm not getting stuck between the lines of the grid. I'm just trying to get something on there. So now what I'm going to do is I'll come back in with a different combination, but I'm going to have a dog here in a minute. So I'm going to take a little Gamsol. That's another great thing about these having the support is I don't have to have a ghost image. I can go right back down to the canvas. And you know what? Sometimes it's more important than other times. And I prefer having that option, that I'm not fighting. I'm not going to fight the canvas. And I've been in that situation where I feel like the canvas is working against me. So it's a really simple thing. I can't tell you how. I mean, I have friends that they make their own panels. Well, I think that's great. It's not going to happen with me because I'm everything about me is I got to make time to paint. I can't do all the additional stuff because that takes away from the painting time. So I found that this was a great way to actually get a high quality support, is just buy the oil ground. And it's so incredibly easy to do that you have to at least try it. And then if you don't like this surface, that's fine because everybody paints differently. But if you're looking if you're looking to be able to get some juicy strokes, and see, I like the paint to sit up. I don't want to grind it into the surface, and that's a personal preference. That's just, the way it is for me. So I'm thinking that we're on the road to a dog portrait here.
If you love pets like I do, you probably enjoyed that video segment. If you want to learn more, go to lilyartvideo.com. Now let's have a talk with the artist. Hi, I'm Eric Rhodes from Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air magazines. Today we're visited by Johanne Mangi. Welcome, Johanne.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm glad to be here.
I was going to say, is that all you have to say?
No, I'm always happy to see you.
Don't be nervous.
Okay, I won't.
No, I don't think anything rattles you.
Not usually, no.
Yeah. So you have become quite the known painter, especially in pet portraits and dogs especially. But we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I kind of want to start at the very beginning. So first memories of art in your life.
Oh, when I was born.
When you were born. You were looking at the art on the wall?
No.
Mommy. Art.
Yeah, it was the Virgin Mother, I think. Anyway, no, probably around 7. I loved my coloring books, and paint by number was very big, 10 years old, whatever. And I used to draw greeting cards, the greeting cards, because I didn't feel I could think of anything to draw, so I would draw from the greeting cards, and particularly.
You mean you would copy the greeting
I'd
cards?
copy the greeting cards,
Okay.
and do you remember the ones with the big eyes?
Oh,
The little characters
yeah,
with the.
yeah.
I
Well,
copied those.
There was a movie about that.
Yeah, so
So you were a child of the 60s.
I was a child of the 60s. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh darn, that cat had come out. Okay. Anyway, I should have said that too. We're not talking about age. Yeah, so I would do that, and then I was always doing something, drawing or whatever. And then when in high school, but it was never any courses or anything like that.
Nothing formal.
Nothing formal. And then when I was in college, I wanted to take art, but I'm an extremely practical-minded person.
Yeah.
So I knew that if I took any art course, nothing else would get done, and that I'd fail. I wouldn't, whatever. So I actually was a psychology and business management major. I had 2 majors, and then after college, I took a couple of art courses, and of course now we're in the 70s, and it's a terrible time for anyone who was really interested in representational art.
Right.
Right? So I got very discouraged because I had we were studying de Kooning and those kind of people. And I did some project, and the teacher actually said, you have no future in this. And I'm like, what's he talking about? I didn't believe him, basically. And I thought, well, I don't want to be doing this stuff anyway. So I, from time to time, would take, they'd have adult education, or there'd be these like little art schools. I was in Hartford area, and they had this art school. And so every now and then I would take something. It'd be Japanese
Calligraphy or something.
Stuff like that, yeah. And enjoyed that. But it was nothing ever anything serious, because I was always traveling a lot for my job, and I had horses. And so that really was my passion.
You had horses?
I had horses. I had, my dream was to have a farm and a couple of show horses. and you know how that works. You get it in your head and you know that it's actually going to happen. And so it did happen. And I had a really great 8-acre farm in a small town along the shoreline in Connecticut. And I worked with, I showed, and I worked with a lot of, I was in bad company basically, the company being people who were really accomplished and were like long listed for the Olympics and Pan Am Games and all that. So what happens is now you have a distorted view of how things are supposed to be done. And so, but your standards are high, and so you rise to some level of that. And so I did that for 20 some odd years, you know, good portion of my adult life.
So art was in and out during that period of time?
Art was mostly out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't do, you know, you have to, I'm not one of those people that can have 5 passions at the same time and be really good at them. So it's like you choose your evil, you know, whatever it is that you're doing at the time. So it was horses.
And horses was a hobby or a business?
Well, I taught, so it was somewhat of a business. I had some clientele, and it's just my nature, because I was self-employed. So my nature is I don't dabble. I immerse myself in whatever the chosen area is. And once I had decided on art, how I got out of the horses was basically, I was shifting, and I was kind of entering another life phase, and I got married for the second time. My last husband, by the way, my second and my last husband. And
Sure.
yeah, no, it is.
Sure.
And so I was ready to, and he had kids, and so I got involved in raising a couple of the kids and that sort of thing. And that was fine, because, you know, it needed to be done, and I was committed to the relationship, and I had moved on, you know, it was ready. I was ready to move on. And so I actually still have actually I have a pony. And he's like poster boy for High Hopes Therapeutic Writing, which is in Old Lyme. So occasionally, on rare occasion, I go to see him. But they actually have a free lease on him. And he's just pretty cool.
What's his name?
Smokey.
Smokey.
Yeah, smoke him up.
Smoke
him up. Yeah. So he's pretty cool.
So you said something I thought was intriguing. You said, I don't dabble, I immerse. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I think that's an important point.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You know, at some point in my life, I decided that if I was going to do something, I had to, I guess you could say, you know, I had to be as good as I could at it, or I wouldn't be satisfied. So that can translate into doing something really good, or it can be, well, maybe you need something else to do because you're not quite accomplishing that. But desire is strong, and you can't escape passion. And so through art, I really learned what passion was. I had a passion for the horses, I thought. But I say that because I was committed to the horses, and it was a lifelong dream from when I was a little kid. And so I accomplished all of that. But I think I might not have walked away from it if it was a passion. So, you know, the art is clearly a passion, and and even more specifically, the animal portraiture is the passion. So
How did that come about?
it came, well, I hate to admit this, I have 6 dogs. And
So you're kind of like the classic cat lady over
no,
there, dog
I'm
lady.
not. And I have a friend who actually complained on Facebook and said, I don't understand, why is it that people who have dogs can have multitude of dogs, meaning me, yet if I have more than one cat, I'm the crazy cat lady. And I said to her, well, let's just roll with it because that's just the way it is. And so 5 of mine are rescues and one is not. And I got very involved with one of the rescue organizations. And so I started doing some dog portraits because they said, well, can you do a dog portrait? Because you paint. Sure, I could do that. Oh my God. So of course I did it. I struggled, but I loved doing it. And so it evolved. And another one, I got asked to do another one, and then another one. And so I was like, oh my God, I need to do this really well because I love doing this. And so it evolved like anything else. And so I was involved with some really good painters. And so I'm always striving to get to that level. And I was painting, I would be invited to paint with Putney painters, which was a very strong influence. As far as how committed they were to what they do and the learning and the whole thing, and Richard Schmidt and Nancy Guzik and the way they would share things. And I had decided, and I'm not sure quite when this happened, but I had decided that I'm looking at a lot of dog art, and there are a lot of really good painters, although I'm more drawn to the 19th century painters, but there's contemporary painters that are good dog painters. But a lot of things that I saw, I considered them to be silly pet portraits. And I thought, I've made some silly pet portraits. I don't want to be known as that. I want them to be fine art. I want it to be fine art, that you look at it and it's not just a painting of a dog or whatever animal it chooses to be, a goat, because I've done a goat or a pig. I want you to look at that as a piece of fine art. And so just that thought, that notion actually made me approach it in a different way.
Why?
Why did?
Yeah.
Because every bit about it had to be beautiful. It had to be alive. The brushstrokes had to be beautiful. And I remember, actually, Kathy Anderson said something by way of Nancy Guzik that really stuck with me. And Nancy had said to her, every part of the painting should be beautiful. So like she would go through the whole painting, like quadrant by quadrant, and to see what really wasn't up to snuff. Mm-hmm. And so I found that I started to do that. Maybe couldn't always achieve that, but I tried, and if I couldn't achieve it, it's because at that point I didn't know how to achieve it. But the main thing for me was that I had to capture that animal. He had to almost jump off the canvas. It just had to be. It wasn't about rendering a likeness. It was about making the animal alive. And so that's always my first priority.
So this idea of inch by inch, making sure every piece of the painting is quality. I had a buddy once, and I'm curious if you've done this or if you do it. He would take a a piece of paper or cardboard the size of the painting, and he'd pull down 1 inch and look at that and evaluate it. And if there was anything that needed to be done, he'd fix it right then and there. Then he'd pull it down another inch, do the same thing all the way down the painting, because he would notice that sometimes the painting fell apart during one of those inches. I'm just curious if that's how you approach it.
I do it with my my phone.
You can see things on your phone
It's
that you can't.
amazing. Oh my God. I take so many photos. So many photos, because when I think something's done, you just don't see it. I mean, even the next day sometimes. I mean, I wait and I go look at it the next day. But you take a photo and it's glaring, in your face. There's just something about the camera. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's what they do when they take a mirror, the reverse. And I just, it's funny because there's all different ways to do things. And the camera became a very comfortable one for me because I don't have to retain the photo. I can take the photo, I can erase the photo, but then you have to remember to erase the photo because then you're left with all these photos and it's like, oh my God, which was the good one? But, that's what I do. I mean, I will actually look at it, but it's the camera. The camera really does it.
So you don't use a mirror?
I keep saying I'm going to use a mirror, and I have tried it. But I don't know, it's just not natural to me. It's not a natural, I feel like everything you do has to, I don't want to have to, it just has to be an extension, an easy extension. So it's automatic. So automatic for me is get the phone, boom, because I don't want to take extra time. I mean, I know people and they have a handheld mirror. I don't even own a handheld mirror. I have to go.
It's clear. It's obvious that you don't.
But the thing is, with the phone, I can look at it later too.
Right.
Whereas even if I'm not, because the one thing I am interrupted in my studio. I was having this conversation with somebody recently about being interrupted and trying to finish, and so I'm always dealing with that also, and so I could be in the middle of something and there's a crisis, dog throwing up,
Well, when you have 900 dogs.
Yeah, when you have right, who don't get along, so. I mean, most of them get along, but I have a couple that don't. And so there's usually a crisis. But, there's other things too. So having the phone has been a vital piece for me. And then, the other thing, I use the phone.
I like that. I like it. I don't do it. But I like it because when I get away from my paintings, I'm always thinking about them.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a big gap between, when I work on a painting and when I next work on it.
Yes.
To be able to look at that phone and study that picture or a square inch of that picture. Good idea.
Exactly. Oh, the other thing too is if, and I don't recommend doing this, but I'll take the photo and I'll go, oh yeah, it's done. And then I email it to Kathy or to Sherry. And then after I've emailed it, I say, oh no, that's not right. So then I email them and I go, don't look at that one. So it's that pressure that I already sent it, and now it's not the correct one.
Well, that's also a helpful tool, isn't it, to have a series of mentors or people that you respect.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, that's been invaluable. I have to say that's been, although sometimes I tell them, yeah, I know. They'll say, you need to, I know.
Yeah, even if you don't know.
Even if I don't know.
So one of the things I found fascinating about you is that I have tried to recall when we first met. I don't remember, but it was somewhere, some event or something, I suppose. And you have developed this group of basically girls, right?
Right, occasionally a guy, yeah.
Yeah, but people, women your age, friends, and what I...
Although I'm working on getting younger friends,
Yeah,
but that's just...
Yeah, well, you're going to have to. So I thought that it was really amazing that you've developed this really close group of people that they're all artists, they're all pretty high quality artists, they're passionate as you are, and they're passionate, you know, each one has some different things that they kind of specialize in, but equally passionate. And to watch this group of women together, I didn't see the group when it was some other men, but it was very special and very unique. And I'd like you to talk about that, and I'd like you to talk also about the studio you developed for this group.
I've mentioned her name a couple times already, but I have to give credit to Kathy Anderson for introducing me to a couple of her friends, and then it kind of evolved from there. We all hit it off. It was just easy relationships, and so we started painting together. We started to do plein air a lot, go out and do some plein air. And then we go out to dinner with the husbands, that sort of thing. And then 3 years ago, I have this big space in the third floor of my house. It was the attic.
You have a third floor. Oh, an attic, okay.
Yeah, and had very high ceilings. And so my husband always wanted to put bedrooms up there. And we've lived there now going on 13 years. And I was very terribly resistant to it because I'm like, we have this gorgeous space. Why would you cover it all up and put walls and all that thing? And I'm thinking, I can't say this. I don't want family to come stay. I don't want to have too many bedrooms. So anyway, so time passed. We didn't do anything. And then I made one of the bedrooms on the second floor was my studio. And I had drying shelves put in and bookcases, and it's a lovely space. And then I kept saying to my husband every now and then, you know, that third floor, that'd be a great drawing space. You know, bring in a model, wouldn't that be great? I could paint down here, but I'll draw up there. And I had belonged to a couple of different groups. And if anybody's been in groups, they're difficult. They can be, you know, you have all these personalities, and usually they're trying to fill them because they're either closed groups or they're open groups. So when they're open, you don't control who comes, and they're closed groups. They can be difficult too, but you know, they're trying to pay for the space, they're trying to pay for the model, so they're maybe not as careful as to who they take in. They just kind of need a body to take up that portion of the
model fee.
The model fee.
Right.
So when my husband one day decided, you know what, why don't you turn that into a studio? You can have it. We'll just finish the walls off and. See, it became his idea. See, so this is how it works, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
love it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what happened, and then I decided how would I build this group? Well, I had a few friends that I would invite, but how I did it was, I said, look, I'm having a model on such and such a day. You can come or don't come, but that's the day. And so I did it with the idea, if I'm the only one here, that's okay. I'm not going to worry about bringing someone in to help pay for the model who I ultimately don't want there. So it was slow because it had to be on people's radars, the people that I wanted, because they have their own schedule, they have
busy lives.
They have busy lives. So I would just send out these really cool letters, you know, with stationery. I mean, email, but it was stationery, and I described the model. You know, it just became a fun thing to do, and I'd send it blind copy so that nobody knew who it was going to, and I felt that was a way to control it, and so that there wasn't a chance of I didn't want hurt feelings. I didn't want, I needed this to be, I wanted a certain environment, and I knew it was going to take time. And so now I don't want to say I'm like batting them away, but the studio can handle just so many people. And so I have a core group, and then, they have to RSVP me, and then I have another handful of people that I want to ask. And I have jettisoned people from, see, this is the part, I have jettisoned people who, it doesn't, it doesn't work. It doesn't, the personality doesn't, it's not a good fit, or it brings down the energy of the group or something like that. And so I'm cautious with that. And it's
You're tough. In other words, what you're really saying is that at some point you may cut me out of your life because I'm a downer. That's what you're saying?
Now that you bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Well, I think there's some importance in that because I've been in those groups. I have my own group. And you once in a while get somebody who just doesn't fit, and it does bring the room down, or you're maybe not as comfortable around them for whatever reason.
And they're nice people.
Yeah.
It's not that they're nice people, but the vibe isn't right. The vibe's not right for the group. And so, and I should mention, the studio's on the 3rd floor. It's called the 3rd floor studio, strangely enough.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I do is I have been having, I do it twice a year, spring and fall. I bring in, we'll have a workshop. And it's not, I pick who it's
you want to learn from.
Right. Well, I'll ask people, but because we're all on the same page, it's not difficult.
So who are some of the people you've had in?
We've had Sue Lyon, and of course Scott Burdick was with her, and Stanley Beelan, David Chivlino, Charlie Hunter. I actually have Larry Moore coming next spring. We're very excited about that. He's unbelievable. Yeah. So it's and usually, so there's usually specific things we want to work on, and so I kind of search out for that. But they're pre-sold. The workshops are pre-sold, so I actually figure out who's coming before I even finalize what we're going to do, and it's been great. But we have kind of a, we have a group dinner, and lunches are catered. Everything is just very self-contained, and it's just a great experience, a really great experience.
Sounds like fun.
It is fun. Maybe you want to come.
I was getting to that.
Yeah, I figured.
I was hoping
I
to
jumped the gun.
get that piece of stationery in the email. So you're doing a figure drawing group how often? When you're not doing workshops, weekly?
Sometimes it's weekly. So I as you know, I broke my shoulder earlier this year. So I was doing them probably 3 times a month is what I was doing. And then in May I had the shoulder. So I probably took a month off, and then I guess we were doing them twice a month.
Slowed you down a little bit.
Yeah, it slowed it down. But in the winter we were doing 3-4 a month, once a week. So it's kind of a seasonal thing, and then I was then I started to travel a lot this fall. So I squeeze them in is
right.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But minimum I try and do twice a month.
So I want to go back to painting. You focus on quality, on fine art, on making your paintings come alive, making the animals come alive. And your pet portraits are unlike any I've seen. They really are expressive and energetic, and you can see the personalities in those pets. What's your advice to somebody who might want to start doing pet portraits in terms of the kinds of things they should be paying attention to, developing, and looking for?
Okay. First of all, I appreciate you saying that. because you've seen a lot of art. So I
I
really
see a little from
yeah,
time to
you
time.
see a little. So I really appreciate you saying that. I think that what I would recommend is get a dog. Now I say that you don't have to own a dog, but I really believe it's just like figure drawing. You know, it's you're studying the model, you're drawing the model. It's the same with a dog. Most people have a dog, but I don't think they really look at the structure of the dog. They look at the fur, they look at the eyes, they look at the nose, but it's more than that. It's what's underneath, and it's that the form and structure that creates really what I'm painting. And you know, and everybody's looking at photographs, but there's so much misinformation with photographs. I mean, even though they're digital and they're better than they've ever been, it still is elusive as to what you're seeing. So you have to really, and if you don't own a dog, it's easy to go, your neighbor has a dog, but you really need to look at that dog and see how is the shoulder set, you know, into the chest cavity, and it makes a huge difference.
So if you were learning to paint the human figure, then you would kind of start by learning to draw the skull or the skeleton. Have you ever done that with a dog?
Yeah, I have studied. I mean, I have books on. I actually have a dog skull, and I use it in the workshops, and because it shows how the jaw opens. And
are most dog skulls pretty similar, because dog faces
well,
are
you
all
have yeah, but you know, they all have snouts. I mean, maybe some don't. I mean, like a pug doesn't really, but you know, they have eye sockets. They have ears. However, the ear. There's still just some.
Right.
There's something to be learned by looking at, just like, you know, we talk about really portrait, a human portrait. It's much better in plein air painting. You know, you can't replace the experience of being there live and in that moment with a photograph. That's not to say you can't paint from a photograph, because we all do it.
Right.
It's just that you have to understand what you're really looking at. And I see, I mean, some of it's really basic. I can't tell you how many portraits I look at, and they've got the nose going this way and the eyes are going that way. And, you know, just like they do it with people portraits too. They don't quite get, you know, or the ear, whatever it is. And but I see it a lot in dogs, and it's like they're pieces.
Right.
You know, but it's
a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you don't that you can see things better when you work from life. Just like, you know, when you're outdoors and you're painting in plein air, you can see color and light and shape and form much better. And the same is true from painting dogs. You're doing a lot of commission work. And are you bringing the dogs in and photographing them? Are you using...
No, I'm the master of bad photographs.
You are?
Yeah, I am. Because that's usually what you get.
Right.
You know, if I can take because a lot of you know, they're not going to fly me. It's not royalty where they're going to fly me, you know, like they do commission for, you know, a person, a judge, or, you know, and they fly you there and whatever. Usually that doesn't occur.
Yeah.
So, so I usually get as many photographs as I possibly can. I have to say, I have 6 dogs with 6 different bodies, with different fur, different eye color, and I utilize my dogs. I haven't figured out how to deduct them on the taxes yet, but without getting audited. But if I could, I would, because many times I've had one of my dogs come in, you know, I say, come here, I need, now, sit, and I'll take the leg and I'll turn the leg out, stay. And so I can see, because I can't see it in the photo, where the bone with the knee and
Right.
you know how it's positioned, but I can see it on him. And so that's how I get around a lot of that. So you know, I always make sure that I have some type of photo that shows the true color of the coat, but it doesn't have to be the photo that I'm using. And many times I'm making a composite, which really nobody wants to do. But I'm so committed to making it correct that I will do that. And that's where the total passion plays in, because if I'm being practical, I'm like, oh my God, let's just get this over with.
Right.
But I don't look at it that way.
Well, you love, you clearly love, you clearly get excited when you do a portrait of a dog.
Yeah.
And you love animals so much.
I'll tell you a funny story.
We'll decide if it's funny.
Oh, no, it's really funny. But unfortunately, it's about Kathy Anderson again. And Kathy comes to paint my garden a lot. And I used to think she was making this up. She'd be in the garden, she's walking around, and she's like, you know, and she's like, and I've seen her do this in workshops too. She's doing the setup. It's not quite right. She's taking a long time. She's doing the setup. And then all of a sudden she goes, oh my God. And she just did it again recently.
She vibrates.
Yeah, she vibrates, yeah. Oh my God, that's it. And I found that I was doing that. We'd be in the city and we're all walking around and I'm taking photos. We'd be down there to draw or paint or whatever. And I'd be searching out people walking their dogs in the village and taking photos. And every now and then I'd go, oh my God, I have to get this photo, I have to paint this dog. And I said to her, oh my God, I've become you. And I thought she used to make that up. But see, she's passionate about what she does. And so that became very clear to me that that's what I need to do.
I have totally experienced that with Kathy, because we did a video with her, a couple of them, and she's tweaking and moving things around, and all of a sudden she lights up and she goes, that's it!
Exactly. And I never really appreciated it till that moment I came across a dog in the Greenwich Village, and I actually did paint the dog, and I put it on Facebook, and I got so many hits on that painting because they're like, oh my God, they want that dog, and I got it, and I go, that's how you paint, that's how you can paint, and if you haven't found that, whatever it is, it could be frogs, it could be an orchid, it could be, I don't know, some stupid thing. Paint it really well, and paint it as many times as you want. In different light, because you can't pretend about passion. I don't think you can't fake passion.
And if you can't find it, take art books, art magazines, and just start flipping through.
Yeah.
And when you find something that really gets you excited, rip it out or take a picture of it or something. And then look at them all combined, and you'll find a pattern. Usually you'll find these
that's true. That's very good.
Thick, juicy paint, or these have these colors, and you'll find out what you respond to.
Because I remember the days early on when I couldn't think of things to paint. And I've heard that from other people. Now I can't even imagine. I can't imagine having that problem. But I remember early on, I spent more time trying to figure out what I wanted to paint than the painting itself.
And then you're not passionate about it.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is, and don't let anyone tell you not to paint that, because I was told by people I respected that I should be painting other things.
Because you're good at those things. No?
The other things?
Yeah.
No, I think they just thought to be an all-around painter. But I felt that yeah, but I'm going to be really good at this. You know, I want to be good at the other thing. Don't get me wrong. I want to be good at the other subject matter, but I don't want to just be good. I want to be really good. And you know that takes a lot of hours with the brush and just doing it, you know, just showing up.
No magic formulas, just brush time.
Yeah. Well, you could break your shoulder and then you're forced to give up a lot of things till it heals. And then the only thing and it wasn't my painting arm. So I was painting, I was in the studio. So I got more hours. But yeah, I say whatever that is, if it's old cars, if it's old, I don't care if it's a water bottle. If you're excited about that water bottle, that you need to focus on that. And don't let anybody tell you that you're not excited about that, because what do they know about what you're excited about?
Right, right. And it will show in your art.
And it's going to show.
Yeah.
It totally will show. So
what's next for you?
Well, I was thinking of having barbecue tonight. Oh, you don't mean today. Oh.
She's a comedian.
But don't give up the day job.
Yeah, really.
Well, I have some workshops that I'm working on. I have a couple that are scheduled, and and I have commissions. I'm trying to control some of that so that I leave painting time.
And what's the ultimate dog painting for you?
The ultimate dog painting?
Yeah.
Well, you know, you didn't even ask me about my influences.
I'm going to go there.
You are going to go there?
Yeah.
Okay, so the ultimate dog painting. Can you be more specific about that?
Do you have like a painting that you just envision that someday I'm going to do? Like in my mind, I have a multi-figure 20-foot painting that I know that I've just got to get done.
Well, I have one not that big, but I have a 30 by 40 that I'm actually working on a drawing of before I attempt to do it. And I actually want it to be of Suleiman the Magnificent, who happens to be one of my dogs.
Ah.
Yeah.
Have you ever done all your dogs in one portrait?
No, but I have done 7 English spaniels in a field of heather. And
that's a big job.
It was, and I did it while my shoulder was broken.
Oh.
So I had no choice. I had a deadline, and believe me, there were days I didn't want to paint. I was miserable, but I was committed to getting it done. I had promised it, and it was going to England, so it wasn't like, I had to, like, there had to be lead time about when it got shipped and stuff like that.
And the hardest part about getting started when you don't want to paint is just getting started, right? Once you pick up the brush and you get into the studio, you're okay.
So I always say, just show up.
Show up. So let's talk about those influences. Who's the greatest dog painter of all time?
Is he the greatest? I don't know if he's the greatest, but to me, he's the most influential for me. Edwin Landseer, 19th century British painter. Actually, there's a few from the 19th century that I actually planned a trip around a painting that he did that is at the Kennel Club in London, and I made an appointment and scheduled a meeting because it used to be at the Tate in London, but it's been residing at the Kennel Club in London. So I took a detour to England so that I could go see this painting firsthand. And it's called the Distinguished Member of the Humane Society, I think is what it's called. And it's a rather large painting, and it's of of a he was great at painting Newfoundlands, and actually the black and white Newfies are called Landseer Newfoundlands. They're named after him because he had painted quite a few of these dogs, and they don't look exactly like the, you know, they're like the original dogs. And I had my picture taken next to it, and then they gave me a tour of all the meeting rooms where they had all, you know, they do have a gallery, but then they saw how excited I was to see this painting. They go, oh, we need to take, you know, to go. And so they took me throughout the building, and we got
wonderful.
to see a lot of, it was very special. But he painted for the royal family, and so he has horse paintings that are amazing. There's one at the British Art Museum in New Haven that I periodically go, and I have to, it's like I pay homage to it. And there's a Newfie in that, and actually it's a screensaver on my iPad. And there's like 2 dogs and accoutrements for falconry, and there's the horse and the saddle and the whole thing, and it's just magnificent.
Did you ever copy it?
No, I never have.
Yeah.
But I have used it. Like when I enlarge the dog with the mouth, and because the dog, it looks like it's, you can see the saliva. I mean, it just looks real. And I mean, painterly. It's not like rendered. Like I don't like highly rendered things. I like painterly things. And this looks like it's moist. His nose is moist. You know, it's really. And I have used that as I look at that and study that. And I can't tell you how many times I look at it because it's on my screensaver. So I'm always looking at it, and that's my inspiration to make things appear like that. So when a friend says they see a painting and they go, you know, I just love what you did with the nose, because the nose just looks, you know, look, oh, sweet little nose, wet nose. And I think, yes, that's good. But Rosa Bonheur, I mean, to die for is that painting in the Met of the horse market with that big butt of the horse. It's just, those are the people that really I mean, there are contemporary painters that I like and appreciate, but it's really the 19th century, because they treated it as art. It was art. They were not stupid animal portraits.
No.
This was the real deal.
Absolutely.
And so that's the inspiration for me.
Great. Well, thank you. This has been wonderful. I've learned a lot, and it's been a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, well, it's been fun. I always look forward to talking to you, Eric. So.
Johanne Mangi is absolutely crazy, but she is such a great painter. The fine art of painting dog portraits is a great place to learn. You can find more about it at lilyartvideo.com. I'm Eric Rhodes. I hope you have a great day.